Most people go through life chasing money like it's the end goal, when in reality, money is nothing more than a tool. A tool like a hammer or a wrench. If you hand a hammer to a carpenter, they'll build a house. If you hand it to someone who's never touched one, they might destroy something. That's how money works. It's not evil. It's not magical. It's not emotional. It's neutral. It's a multiplier of whoever holds it. If you're broken character, it amplifies your brokenness. If you're generous in spirit, it expands your impact. Money doesn't change people. It reveals and magnifies them. But because most people are taught to chase it instead of master it, they get stuck in a cycle of survival. They worship the tool and forget the purpose. They forget that you don't earn a hammer, you use it. Money is not supposed to be your focus. It's supposed to be your servant. It's supposed to help you. You build the business, help you feed the vision, help you advance the mission. The reason so many people feel like money controls them is because they never learned how to control it. And what you don't control controls you. You were never supposed to wake up every day just to earn paper. That's why so many people are depressed in their careers. They're climbing a ladder that leans against the wrong wall. They're moving, but they're not building. They're hustling, but they're not creating. Because if you don't understand what money is for, you'll give your life for something that was never meant to be your life. Money is a great servant, but a terrible master. It'll serve you faithfully if you respect it, but it'll enslave you if you idolize it. This is why thinking about money creates poor results with money. If you believe money is evil, you'll unconsciously sabotage your ability to create it. If you think rich people are wicked, you'll subconsciously avoid becoming one. School should have taught you how to think about money, not just how to count it, save it, or spend it. You weren't designed to chase money. You were designed to attract it by becoming valuable and solving real problems. But if your mindset is still stuck in survival mode, money will always run from you. When you see money as a tool, you begin to ask the right questions. What am I building? What is the assignment that requires this resource? How can I steward what I have to multiply what I need? That's how wealthy people think. They don't chase, they allocate. They don't spend, they invest. They don't brag about how much they earn. They master how much they deploy. Because they understand that the money is not the end game. It's a tool to reach the end game. And that end game is purpose, impact, legacy. So if you're frustrated financially, don't just look at your job. Look at your mindset. Don't just count your dollars. Check your definition. What does money mean to you? Is it a god or is it a gear? If it's a gear, you can use it. If it's a god, it'll use you. And the only way to shift your reality is to shift your revelation. Because once you truly understand that money is not the goal, but the tool to serve the goal, you stop chasing and you start building. School taught you to trade time for money, but that lesson created a limitation. You see, time is equal. Every person on earth gets the same 24 hours, but value is not. Two people can sit in the same office under the same roof for the same number of hours and walk away with completely different results. One leaves exhausted, the other empowered. One is paid minimum wage, the other paid millions. Why? Because the world doesn't pay for time. It pays for transformation. It pays for value. It pays for results. The problem with being taught to value time over value itself is that it keeps you trapped in the cycle of working harder instead of working smarter. That's why so many people hustle and grind for decades and still feel broke, not just financially, but emotionally. They believe they're doing the right thing, giving more hours, more sweat, more effort. But effort without strategy is exhausting. If effort alone was the secret to wealth, construction workers would be millionaires. The truth is effort must be paired with elevation. When you understand that money is the reward for value, not time, everything shifts. You stop asking, how many hours can I work? And start asking, how much value can I create? And the value you bring depends on how much you've grown, how deep you've developed your skills, how clearly you understand the problem you solve. The more value you add, the less your income depends on the clock. That's how people make in an hour what others make in a week, not by cheating time, but by increasing impact. You've been conditioned to believe that a job equals security, that a salary equals success. But the truth is, salary is just the bribe they give you to forget your dreams. That doesn't mean you shouldn't work a job. It means you should never let a job define your worth. Your worth is not measured by hours. Your worth is measured by the problems you solve, the people you serve, and the purpose you fulfill. When you bring undeniable value, the marketplace will find a way to pay you, even if no one else understands you. Think about the greatest inventions, the biggest businesses, the most transformational leaders. None of them traded time for money. They traded insight for income. They studied, they learned, they mastered a unique way to do something better, faster, or more meaningfully than others, and they got paid in proportion to that uniqueness. The value of your mind will always outpace the value of your minutes. That's why you must invest in growing your mind more than selling your time. Now understand this, you are already valuable. You were created with gifts, with insight, with potential. But raw potential isn't enough. You must refine it. You must turn your potential into power by mastering your craft. School graded you on memory, but life pays you for mastery. Mastery is what creates distinction. And distinction is what the marketplace rewards. When you become a master at solving problems, you'll never have to chase money. Money will chase you. The trap of hourly thinking is that it limits your capacity. If you believe you're only worth what someone is willing to pay you per hour, you'll never unlock the freedom that comes from multiplying value. The wealthy don't think in hours. They think in outcomes. They ask, how can I turn one idea into a stream of income that pays me over and over again? That's not magic. That's mindset. And it begins by unlearning what you were taught. That time equals money. No, friend, A's value equals money. Sex, or what happens when you detach income from time? You begin to scale. You start building systems that work when you don't. You launch businesses, create offers, invest in assets, write books, build platforms. These things produce value even while you rest. That's the power of removing the limit of time from your income. Your income potential becomes limitless when your value becomes reproducible. That's how legacies are built, not by working more, but by working wiser. It's not about how long you've been doing something. It's about how well you've mastered it. The 20-year veteran might be stuck repeating the same year of experience 20 times, while the focused learner compresses a decade of mastery into 2 years. The world doesn't reward longevity, it rewards leverage. When you leverage your value across platforms, products, and people, you begin to understand the secret the schools never told you. Your time is not your most valuable asset. Your thinking is. So if you want to change your money, change how you measure your worth. Stop counting hours and start counting impact. Stop asking how much time you'll spend and start asking how much transformation you'll create. The moment you realize you get paid for value, not time, you'll stop living for weekends and start living with purpose. You weren't born to clock in, you were born to create. And the value you carry is waiting to be unlocked, unleashed, and unapologetically monetized. School taught you how to be a consumer, not a creator. From the earliest days, you were trained to sit still, follow instructions, memorize information, and repeat it back. But life doesn't reward you for memorization. It rewards you for innovation. The marketplace doesn't pay the person who knows the most, it pays the one who creates solutions. So when you graduate after years of being conditioned to consume knowledge, but never trained to apply it, you enter the world knowing how to follow, but not how to lead, how to spend, but not how to produce. Everything in society is designed to keep you consuming. You're bombarded with ads, taught to crave the newest gadget, told that success looks like cars, clothes, and status symbols. And if you don't know the game, you play right into it. You start buying things to impress people who aren't even watching. And every dollar you spend as a consumer is a seed you're planting in someone else's vision, not your own. That's the trap. When you consume more than you create, you help someone else build wealth while you remain stuck in the cycle of lack. But here's the truth: school didn't teach you the wealthiest people in the world are creators. They don't just buy products. They build them. They don't just scroll content. They produce it. They don't just use platforms. They own them. And you were created in the image of a creator, which means creativity is in your DNA. When you begin to create, you move from survival to ownership. You step into your divine assignment to produce, to innovate, to multiply. See, you don't need more money, you need more mastery. Mastery in creating solutions, in building something from nothing, in using your gifts to meet needs, whether it's a digital product, a physical service, a course, a book, a podcast, whatever it is. You have the ability to create something that didn't exist before. And once it exists, it can create value. And when something creates value, it deserves to generate income. That's the equation most people miss. They wait for money before they create. But creation always precedes compensation. The consumer mindset asks, what can I get? But the creator mindset asks, what can I give? That shift will change your life. Because when you create something of value, it can serve thousands, even millions. You only need to build it once, but it can bless people repeatedly. That's what makes creation so powerful. It produces income that doesn't require your constant presence. It builds freedom. It builds options. It builds legacy. You were trained to think small, to believe that success is getting a job and retiring at 65. But creators don't retire. They evolve. They don't wait for permission to create. They don't need validation to start. They just move. They act. They release their work into the world and let the market decide its value, because they understand that failing to create is worse than failing at what you create. You can't multiply what you never release. And the only thing worse than failure is regret. Don't get it twisted. Everyone starts as a consumer, but the key is to transition. Move from consuming information to applying it. Move from watching others build to building yourself. You can't build wealth. If you owned wealth, you only watch others do it. You've got to put your hands on the vision. You've got to create something that reflects your voice, your skill, your experience. When you do that, you'll discover money isn't just earned, it's attracted by the power of creation. Creators understand leverage. One product, one idea, one offer, when built right, can change your entire financial reality. Not because it's perfect, but because it's positioned. When you position what you create in front of the right audience, at the right time, with the right message, it becomes magnetic. But that magnetism can't begin until you take the first step, until you stop consuming and start building, until you stop learning endlessly and start launching courageously. There's a reason every major company started with one person's idea. One person who refused to only consume and chose to contribute. That same potential is inside you. It's not about talent. It's about decision. The decision to shift from comfort to calling, from passive to powerful, from quiet to creative. And the moment you decide to act on what's in your hands, instead of waiting for what's in someone else's, you take authority over your finances, your freedom, and your future. So ask yourself this: what have you been consuming that you were actually meant to be creating? That idea, that gift, that skill, it's not random. It's divine. And if you steward it correctly, if you build with purpose and release with boldness, you'll tap into a stream of income that doesn't just pay you, it positions you, not just for money, but for meaning, not just for income, but for impact. Most people were never taught the difference between assets and liabilities. And that's one of the biggest financial traps school left you in. You were told to get a job, save some money, buy a house, and work until retirement. But you were never taught how to make your money multiply. You were taught to earn it, save it, and spend it, but not how to grow it. And that's why so many people stay stuck. They don't understand how wealth is built. Wealth isn't built by working more. It's built by owning more. The truth is, most people buy liabilities thinking they're assets: a house, a car, new clothes, even that latest phone. You're told these things are signs of success. But if they don't put money back in your pocket, they are not assets. An asset pays you. A liability costs you. And if your life is filled with liabilities disguised as achievements, you'll always be spending more than you earn. You'll look successful, but your bank account will tell a different story. Wealth is quiet. Liabilities are loud. We weren't trained to buy assets. We were trained to buy comfort. That's why people spend money they don't have on things they don't need to impress people they don't even like. It's a trap, a cycle, and it's designed to keep you broke, because as long as you're spending, someone else is profiting. But when you flip the game, when you start buying assets instead of liabilities, you step into ownership, and ownership is the beginning of freedom. Assets work while you rest. That's the magic. A rental property, a digital product, a dividend paying stock, a business, a brand. These things don't require you to trade your time for every dollar. They create income on their own. They multiply. That's how the wealthy think. Not how can I work harder, but how can I own more that works for me? Because when your money starts working for you, you're no longer a slave to time. One of the biggest lies you were told is that debt is bad, but not all debt is created equal. The wealthy use good debt to acquire assets. They use the bank's money to buy income, producing properties. They use leverage, and that's the difference. You were taught to fear debt because you were only shown bad debt, credit cards, consumer loans, unnecessary spending. But if you use debt to acquire an asset that pays you back more than it costs you, that's not a burden. That's a blessing. The reason this wasn't taught in school is simple: schools prepare employees, not owners. The system was never designed to create millionaires. It was designed to create workers, to teach you how to follow instructions, not how to own instructions. That's why financial literacy isn't part of the curriculum, because the moment you learn how money actually works, you become dangerous. Not to society, but to the systems that profit from your ignorance. Once you understand the asset game, you'll look at everything differently. That new car? Liability. That side business? Asset. That expensive vacation? Liability. That online course that teaches you a monetizable skill? Asset. It's all about how you define it, not emotionally, but economically. If it builds your financial future, it's an asset. If it drains your future, it's a liability. This one shift in thinking can change your entire financial destiny. You don't have to be rich to buy assets. You just have to be intentional. Start small. Buy a book that teaches you how to invest. Create a digital product. Launch a service. Buy a share of stock. The size doesn't matter. The direction does. If your money is always moving away from you, you'll never build wealth. But if you can get it to come back and bring friends, that's when you win. That's when compounding starts to work in your favor. Imagine this: every dollar you earn as an employee, you can send it out into the world to buy entertainment or to build an empire. One depreciates, the other multiplies. Which one do you choose? When you start thinking like an owner, you make decisions differently. You delay gratification, not because you're afraid to spend, but because you're focused on building. Ownership creates options, and options create freedom. So here's the truth they never told you. If you don't own anything, you'll always work for someone who does. If you don't acquire assets, you'll always be someone else's asset. But the moment you decide to start building, to start owning, to start investing in what grows, that's the moment everything changes. You stop chasing money and start multiplying it, because money wasn't meant to be your master. It was meant to be your servant, and it serves best when it's placed in assets that never stop working. Most people were trained to trade their time for money. That's the core model. We were handed: go to school, get a job, show up every day, and get paid by the hour or by the month. That sounds like security, but it's really a ceiling, because time is limited, and when your income depends on time, your income is limited too. You only have 24 hours in a day. Even if you work all of them, there's a cap. That's not wealth. That's a trap. Real wealth begins when you stop depending on time and start building systems that produce without you. Let's be clear: trading time for money is how most people start, and there's nothing wrong with that. The danger is staying stuck there. If all you ever do is exchange time for dollars, you'll never experience financial freedom. You'll only experience financial survival. That model wasn't built for abundance. It was built for control, because when someone else controls your time, they control your money. And when they control your money, they control your life. You've got to move from labor to leverage. Leverage means using tools, people, systems, and strategies to multiply your efforts. That's how wealthy people operate. They don't just work hard, they build things that work hard for them. A business that runs without them, a product that sells while they sleep, content that gets views while they rest, investments that grow without their presence. That's leverage. And leverage is how you earn more without working more. School didn't teach us this, because school wasn't built by entrepreneurs. It was built by industrialists. They needed employees who would follow instructions, not thinkers who would challenge the system. So we were taught to clock in, clock out, and not ask questions. But the real question is this: what if you could earn money even when you're not working? What if you could build once and get paid forever? That's not a dream. That's a strategy. And it starts with shifting your mindset from time-based income to value-based income. When you understand value, you start focusing on what you can build, not just what you can do. Value lives in products, in services, in offers and ideas, in digital assets, not just in physical labor. If you can package your knowledge, if you can turn your skill into a system, if you can create something that solves a problem, you now have something that can produce income without your physical presence. That's where true freedom lies. The person who builds a business system will always out-earn the person who only works inside one. And it doesn't take millions of dollars to start. It takes a decision to stop trading time and start building. It could be a simple ebook, a course, a subscription service, a piece of software, a coaching program, an online store. The product doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to solve a problem, because money follows value, not effort. And the beautiful thing about systems is that they don't get tired. They don't call in sick. They don't ask for overtime. Once they're built, they keep working for you. That's how you create money that doesn't stop when you stop. That's how you break the time trap. You don't need more hours, you need more output, more assets, more leverage. That's how the wealthy multiply. They multiply their reach, their resources, and their results. Here's what nobody told you: you can't scale time, but you can scale value. Time is fixed, value is infinite. That's why you must build something that exists beyond you, something that continues to move when you're resting, traveling, thinking, praying, enjoying your life. Because if your income always requires your presence, your freedom will always be delayed. And freedom is the real goal, not just having more money, but having more life. This isn't about laziness. It's about legacy. You can work hard for years and have nothing to pass on, or you can work smart and build something that lives beyond you. A business, a brand, a book, a stream of income, something that your children's children can benefit from. That's the power of systems. They multiply your life beyond your lifetime. And that's what most schools never taught us, that you weren't just meant to work for money, but to make money work for you. So today, ask yourself, are you building anything that will continue to pay you after you stop working? Are you investing your time in something that will produce long after you're gone? If not, start now. Start small. Start simple. But start, because your time is too valuable to be constantly traded. Build something that pays you, frees you, and honors the value you were created with. Time is a tool, but leverage is the key. Money is not just about math. It's about mindset. And one of the most dangerous mindsets school gave you is the belief that money is scarce, that it's hard to earn, and even harder to keep. You were taught to be careful with money, to hold on tight, to fear loss more than you pursue gain. That kind of thinking doesn't create wealth. It protects lack. It trains you to stay small, stay safe, and stay stuck. Because if you believe money is limited, you'll never think beyond what you have. But wealth starts when you shift from scarcity to abundance. School conditioned us to chase security, not opportunity. And that mindset is still operating in most people's lives. You look for a steady paycheck, not passive income. You look for benefits, not breakthroughs. You want guarantees, but wealth doesn't live in guarantees. It lives in growth. It lives in bold decisions, creative thinking, and the courage to build something from nothing. If your mindset is always looking for safety, it will never find abundance, because abundance requires faith, and faith is the opposite of fear. You were also trained to think that rich people are either lucky, greedy, or dishonest. That belief keeps you from ever becoming wealthy, because your mind will never allow you to become what you secretly resent. If you think money corrupts, you'll subconsciously sabotage your own success. But here's the truth: money only reveals more of who you are. If you're generous with little, you'll be generous with much. If you're wise with little, you'll multiply much. Wealth is not evil. Greed is. And they're not the same. Most people never question the money beliefs they inherited. They just repeat what they were told. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. You have to struggle to get ahead. But those beliefs were passed down by people who were doing the best they could, not people who mastered wealth. You have to update the programming, because if you're still operating with outdated beliefs, you'll keep getting outdated results. Your bank account is a reflection of your belief system long before it reflects your work ethic. If you want to change your financial future, you must start by changing the way you think about money. Money is a tool. Money is energy. Money flows where value grows. It's not about chasing it. It's about becoming the kind of person that attracts it. That means growing your mindset, developing your skills, serving others with excellence, and thinking like a creator, not just a consumer. Money follows purpose. It follows leadership. It follows solutions. Too many people are trying to fix a money problem with more money, But if your mindset is still broken, more money will just magnify the dysfunction. That's why some people get a raise and stay broke. They make more, spend more, and stay stuck. The issue was never the amount, it was the attitude. Until you upgrade your mindset, nothing else will change because your external always submits to your internal. Shift inside and you'll shift everything else. When you move into an abundance mindset, you start looking at money differently. You stop asking, can I afford it? And start asking, how can I create it? You stop looking for discounts and start looking for investments. You stop thinking like a customer and start thinking like a producer, because abundance doesn't come from what you save. It comes from what you build. And when you build something valuable, money becomes the byproduct, not the pursuit. An abundance mindset also allows you to celebrate others instead of comparing. You see someone else winning, and instead of getting jealous, you get inspired. You ask, what did they learn that I can learn? What did they build that I can build? That energy attracts opportunity. Scarcity says there's not enough for everyone. Abundance says God has more than enough. Scarcity shuts doors. Abundance opens them. And if your mindset is right, the doors that open will never close again. It's not about pretending you're rich. It's about preparing to become the kind of person wealth can trust. If you can't manage what you have, why would more come to you? Abundance begins with stewardship. Take care of what's already in your hands. Make a budget. Learn to invest. Control your emotions. Stop reacting to money and start commanding it. When your mindset is aligned with purpose, money becomes your servant, not your master. So here's the truth they never told you. The most valuable financial asset you'll ever have is not in your wallet. It's in your mind. If you renew your mind, you'll renew your money. If you grow internally, you'll multiply externally. The system taught you to get a job. The truth is, you were created to bring solutions. When your mindset shifts from fear to faith, from lack to leadership, from consumer to creator, that's when wealth begins. Not with numbers, but with a new narrative.